Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's CiL GR86 Cup race from the circuit Zolder. I'm Matthew Nordberg. Joining me up in the booth for commentary tonight, it's Josh Crane, and we are both looking forward to a fantastic race tonight. Our track this evening has hosted 10 Formula One Grand Prix, with the most recent being in 1984. In terms of some of the current racing happening at this amazing circuit, Zolder currently hosts sports car racing, as well as the season finale for the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. This 2.5-mile track has 11 turns, 3 lefts, 4 rights, and 4 chicanes, each of which is considered a single turn around this 2.5-mile track. Josh, it's going to be a tough track to navigate with some of these chicanes. What are you expecting to see from some of our drivers tonight?
This is going to be, I think, what we expect here tonight, Matt. This is one of my personal favorite tracks, even if it's not the most popular there on the iRacing service. But as you can see, these drivers are going to have to negotiate these chicanes, and they're all a little bit different, but they all have the same theme. You want to keep your momentum up. You're going to have to take a little bit of curb, and you can do that in these GR86 cars. Pretty fun cars here for the summer. But it's going to be a balancing act for these drivers, and these chicanes are right after those braking zones that are going to be very popular passing zones as well. As you can see here, Clemson diving into what will be another passing zone. Probably not under qualifying right now, but during the race, that's where we're going to see a lot of calamity. As we see, looks like maybe Drexel taking a very long line into that final corner right there. So, yeah, Matt, as these drivers get together, this track is very unique. It's fun, but it's unique, and it's a series of chicanes connected by straightaways, and whoever can get the best run out of the preceding turn is going to have the advantage down the straight.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of straights, we see Kyle Bonin from Clemson University beginning his first flying lap as qualifying is underway now into turn one. It's a tricky left-hander. It's probably one of the faster corners on the circuit as we ride on board now with Kyle. Next turn, right-hander, also kind of long, sweeping right-hander. I think this first sector is really going to be... It's pretty different from the rest of the track. Well, this sector is very flowing and very kind of open. You get into the back half of the track, and it's very tight, and the corners come up on you much quicker than they do in this first sector as Kyle Bonin drops a wheel in the gravel there as he comes to the first chicane.
Yeah, that's going to be something that's very popular right there out of that. Kind of that second right-hander. I don't know if we can call it a double apex or not right there, but you can see this is where we're going to see curb, and actually not all the way out. That's a good job of keeping that chicane straight, which is what you want to do anytime you meet a chicane. You want to keep that car and that momentum pointed in the right direction. Just like a sprinter coming out of the blocks really doesn't do very well to put the energy anywhere but forward, and that's what Kyle Bonin is doing here. But this is where drivers are going to have an opportunity coming up over. This is entering the third sector, and Matt, this is where we're going to see a lot of moves down in, up over the kink. It's a hard braking right turn. You can see it looks like down to second gear in these cars, which should be as low as we go all night. It's going to be a lot of grass collection right here. In fact, we will expect to see a little bit of dirt showing by the time we get done here tonight at those little corners. And then finally, one more chicane to go to the end. Kyle Bonin going to navigate that back up on the curb car. Pretty well settled, though. Yeah, taking a little bit of that inside and all the way out to the outside. That's a lap here at Zolder, and so Kyle Bonin and Clemson University will cross the line here, and we'll see what the Tigers can do as we get on in qualifying. But Matt, that is going to be the pretty standard move right there. Looks like Drexel University the first, so that was probably an outlap right there for Clemson, but Drexel University the first across the line. Alex Diamond with a 147.826. Thomas Toomey looks like just putting in quite a safe banker lap, if you will, Matt.
Yeah, I actually think Kyle Bonin he invalidated his lap somewhere, because he definitely crossed the stripe there for a lap time, or to start a flying lap, so maybe just we went off track somewhere we weren't expecting, maybe in one of those chicanes. I think it can be tricky where you have to balance the speed versus the risk versus the reward there. As he comes into that first chicane again. Nice and over the curbs. Much quicker than through there, it looks like, from the outboard shot compared to the inboard. But we'll see, as he has yet to set a time right now. But Ian Brown, your current pole position holder with a 146.78 from Mesa Community College. He's been pretty quick all season. Ian Brown, I think, a bit unlucky last race to get caught up in an accident. But charged through the field, I think, in the second race. And I think he has something to prove tonight, because I think he's a little disappointed with his last outing back at Lime Rock Park 1 week ago, and I think he wants 2 wins tonight to show for it.
Yeah, he would. Looking at the standings for the alumni schools there, Mesa Community College is on top of that battle right now. A couple of really good runs, a couple P2s, and then including a win there for Mesa Community College, and that's no surprise, right? Ian Brown has had a number of wins this season, but has a 40-point advantage right now over P2 in the championship, Wingate University, followed by Clemson University. So as we get to the middle of the season, Matt, this being week 7 of 12, that's going to be something for these drivers to consider, as that's your running order for the alumni schools. But the student schools get even warmer. Drexel University with a commanding gap over Mississippi College there in second place, and that's how that championship battle is shaking up. And then, actually hot on the heels of Mississippi College is the College of San Mateo and North Carolina at Charlotte and Clemson University. And so that's going to be a battle that shakes out both at the top of that chart and then there in the midfield. It's going to be very rambunctious there as we get to the middle and closing parts of this season, Matt. So for all the story followers, there's the championship standings here as we come into tonight. But yeah, back on the board, Matt, I do see that Mesa Community College is coming out to make a statement at the moment. That gap right there is looking 0.4 seconds back, so almost half a second has ownership of that pole position right there, Mesa Community College. And then, yeah, Kyle Bonin, if he keeps that, whoa, that's going to be an invalidated lap, I think, Matt. That was some off-road. That was some Pro Ford truck action right there.
Yeah, and that's something I love about these GR86 cars. They can really take a beating over some of these super heavy curbs, as it looks like a bit of a slowdown there maybe for Ian Brown, but you can really send it over some of these curbs because you get some cars that's, stiffer suspensions, things like open wheel cars, or maybe even some of the GT cars. You can't really abuse those curbs as much as you'd like, and I think these GR86 cars are just the perfect car around this track to thrash the curbs and really get every ounce of speed around this track with this type of car. So it'll be fun to watch, as the leaderboard is very tight as well, spread from first to fifth right now, less than a second it looks like, with the spread from first to third less than 5/10 of a second. So we're looking to have a good race tonight here with these times on the board at the moment.
Yeah, first to third is tied, and wow, Jared Kaler in North Carolina at Charlotte putting together an effort. We saw the Niner Esports do pretty well via Clint Halterman there on Monday night. Fast forward to Wednesday night, and Niner Esports again there in the hands of Jared Kaler this time. He's going to get that car. Yeah, look at it rotate right up over the curbs. You can do that, Matt. You can use those curbs to rotate the car, but sometimes it rotates just a little too much, and that's not what you need here in the middle of these chicanes, because everyone is trying to keep that momentum up, and if you cough a little bit, the drivers behind you will surely be in your trunk.
Yeah, for sure, and I think it's going to be super important to be able to get the speed out of the chicanes, because I think that's where most of the speed around this track does come from. 4 chicanes, one of them is pretty flat out coming this turn 10 before the the final corner. That's flat out, but the other 3 chicanes on this track are all very heavy braking zones, and I think if you're not careful, you can really lose positions going through those chicanes, especially if you get caught on the outside. If you're being overtaken and you aren't careful, I can imagine a bunch of cars would just steam in behind the person overtaking you, and it can really turn into a bit of a snowball from there, as we see Alex Diamond mount some of those curbs and take that car Pro 4 truck driving. As he shaking the steering wheel a little bit there, I think he's a little disappointed and maybe invalidating his lap there, as still Ian Brown from Mesa Community College with the pole position time of a 146.78.
Yeah, and that's something else that we'll keep in mind of this race. I'm sure that despite it's not recommended, but somebody will attempt, or a couple drivers will probably attempt, side by side through a couple of these chicanes, probably towards the end of one of these heats. We know that the second heat especially is always maybe we'll say more rambunctious, since that seems to be the word of the evening. But for all these drivers, they're going to have to be careful of that, because exactly, it's going to take away so much momentum, and that's when drivers are going to be able to catch up to the leaders who are battling in that way. Or we have seen before where sometimes positions 2, 3, 4 can be a little preoccupied, and we see that leader strengthen that gap just a little bit, Matt. to where it's a little bit more strung out. So coming across the line now, another Clemson Tiger with orange wheels. Thomas Crump currently is scored in 6th position, just a 10th or so to improve if he can start in that top 5 behind Drexel University, but it looks like that will not. In fact, I didn't even see a time pop out there, so maybe there was an off track that we did not catch. Ooh, there's your off track, Matt. But that's gonna be the way it goes for now.
Yeah, and I think really these drivers I think are all very close in skill, and I think where they qualify they're not too worried about it because I think they're all so close right now that in the race it might not make as big of a difference, especially if they get preoccupied fighting other drivers. But they always want to qualify as close to the front as they can. There's more clean air up there. There's less of a worry of maybe being caught up in someone else's incident, which we have seen happen before, especially in heat 2, as Crump over the curbs in the first chicane. Very nicely done coming up the hill now. But yeah, I think these drivers are all competitive and it's all tight at the top of the field. So we'll see who can get the pole position here. But Kyle Bonin currently on the leaderboard, or the top of the leaderboard right now with a 46.448. Great lap from him. Ian Brown, I don't think, has been able to improve too much since he set his first lap time of a 46.78. So only a couple minutes left here, actually 1 minute left. So we'll see what these drivers have left in the tank.
Yeah, only 2 drivers and only 2 schools right now up above the, or maybe we'll say below the 147 mark. But everybody else running kind of 147 times, which seem to be quite standard here. But I'll tell you who I'm looking at up front is going to be quite the battle between that top 4. If we do go this way, Matt, Clemson, Mesa, ooh, Thomas Crump, a little bit hot. That's what we said. It is easy to over-rotate that car, and the GR86 is just lazy enough that it's very, very hard to recover. But I was going to say that, yeah, the top 4, if we start this way, actually the top 5, I might add, Matt, would be very exciting to sail off into turn 1.
Yeah, for sure. As I think qualifying's about to come to an end here, as one more driver is able to cross the line there. I don't think he improved by much, as the checkered flag has flown, and your pole position winner for the first race of tonight is going to be Kyle Bonin out of Clemson University. He set a pole position time of a 146.448 for that 260 machine. Right to his outside is another alumni from Mesa Community College's Ian Brown, with only 3/10 behind Kyle Bonin to set the outside pole position. And Thomas Toomey, the third alumni in the field, running 1-2-3, rounds out your top 3, only 7/10 of a second behind Kyle Bonin. Jared Kaler, the first student in the field, number 58 from the University from North Carolina at Charlotte. And then in 5th from Drexel, Alexander Diamond. And to his outside, Thomas Crump of Clemson University will start 6th. And then rounding out your back row tonight, Michael Tognati from the College of San Mateo qualifies a couple seconds off pole in 7th, and then 8th place, Timothy Wilms from Drexel, just behind his teammate Josh.
Yeah, that's going to be the grid for this evening. You can see these cars are going to do one warm-up lap. They're going to come around that final turn and get pointed straight. Take off. They will have an opportunity. You know, it's like a little bit like Road America. It's not that we're coming out of the final corner like you would in oval racing, Matt, to kind of game the restart. But these drivers are going to be very heads up when they take the green flag and they take off, and that'll be pretty exciting as well. So these drivers out here, they're gridding. That Porsche pace car is about to take off. And yeah, Matt, I'll say that we always see a little bit of a pretty standard first heat, and then we always see the wick turn up there in the second heat. With 8 cars tonight, these drivers are going to have a little bit more room to spread out, maybe to be aggressive up at the front. But I'll tell you what I'm looking at is Drexel University continues to be consistent. They have 2 cars in this event, and that is going to benefit them surely. Clemson as well, doubling their chances to take this one home. But I'll tell you what else I'm looking at is the College of San Mateo. Did qualify down, Matt, at kind of the bottom of the board there, but we saw a lot of pace from that car at Lime Rock last week, and even a couple bits in the week prior at Laguna Seca. So I would not be surprised to see Michael Tognati in that College of San Mateo car be a little bit opportunistic and make his way up to the mid-pack. Of course, we are going to have an invert here. Everybody's getting inverted with this field tonight. And so as we warm our tires, that's going to be something that these drivers can fall back on should they have an unpleasant first race.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you mentioned it with Michael Tognati. He's been very quick before. And I think last week he finished on the podium for race 2. We were talking to him afterwards, and he said he didn't get much practice time, but throughout the first heat, he was able to find a lot of pace, build up that confidence. And then it comes race 2, he's maybe, unfortunately starts in the back for race 1, but that flip's going to put him at the front for race 2, depending on how this race pans out. So he might take this first race, build up the confidence, build up the speed, and be able to start that second race closer to the front with a bit more confidence in his car and his driving abilities.
Yeah, that's an opportunity there, and these drivers are going to be still pretty motivated there in Heat 1. It's always the game that you play because equal paying points for both heats in every CiL GR86 event this summer. And so that's going to be on these drivers' minds. You are not so incentivized to take home the second heat because that first heat is equal amount of points. So very, very tempting for these drivers.
Yeah, that's for sure. As our drivers come out of the penultimate corner now, that's turn 10, that quick left-right. It's the third of 4 chicanes in this track. As Kyle Bonin for Clemson University is going to lead this field to green as the pace car lights are out as they come to the final chicane. Pace car is going to pull away, and Clemson University's Kyle Bonnet is going to lead the field to green here as they come around the final chicane. Orange and black leads the field to his outside. That's Ian Brown in the blue and red Mesa Community College car as they come out of the final corner now, stacking up slightly. Tognati out of line there in the back of the field as Kyle Bonnet gets on the accelerator, and the first race is green for the CiL GR86 Cup. Kyle Bonnet gets a great start as it looks like Jared Kaler in that light blue car is going to try to pull out, but tucks in right behind. And there's a spin in the back of the field. Looks like somebody's in the wall, as it looks like Ian Brown might have taken the lead from Kyle Bonnet there in the first turn.
Yeah, the internet connection there was not with that Mesa car, but he's out in front, just in front of your screen right there. Meanwhile, the battle continues. We talked about this. 2, 3, 4. That's Virginia in the white machine. He is trying to make his move. Thomas Toomey around the inside there of Jared Kaler for third position. That's North Carolina at Charlotte in that 58 car. You will know him from his Monday night performances, but hopping into the Toyotas this season, this summer, and Clemson University waiting to pull out. Will there be a block? And yeah, didn't agree on the breaking point there. Can't say I'm surprised, Matt. That was always going to be a unique way to enter that corner, but these drivers getting sorted out now with Kyle Bonin being able to rejoin the field. He'll be looking forward to that invert a little bit later, but all these cars back on the brakes, and Mesa Community College right out in front.
Yeah, 2 through 6 right now really are all nose to tail right now, so Kyle Bonnet might have a good shot at getting back into this if these cars keep fighting, but the person who's loving the fight behind him right now is Ian Brown from Mesa Community College. He's jumped out to a 1.6 second lead as it looks like Thomas Toomey is going to make a lunge down into the hairpin, can't quite pull it off right now. As further behind him, Thomas Crump from Clemson University is trying to make a move, or trying to defend, I should say, from Alexander Diamond of Drexel as they come down to the final corner now again, Josh.
Yeah, here we go. North Carolina at Charlotte squarely leading this group. Everybody about a car length separated. A little bit wide there for Drexel. I think that was Alexander Diamond. But I'll tell you who's got a run right now is Thomas Crump from Clemson University. He's going to try not much draft at all in these cars. In fact, a disparagingly little amount, because look at this, not even in to the corner. Thomas Toomey, wide entrance, and he's going to have a good move out of this corner. But slow on the inside is North Carolina at Charlotte, and he's actually going to let these drivers, I don't want to say let them go, but he's going to have to take a very slow line through this corner, and suddenly that is fourth position for Niner Esports and for Jared Kaler right there. Mesa Community College leads ahead of this group now. P2 is Virginia, followed by Clemson University, followed by Charlotte. And yeah, there's everybody using the track and more that we expect so much right there at the corner exit.
Yeah, Tognati, the white and red Toyota coming off the track there into the gravel. Looks like that is Alexander Diamond, and maybe trying to make a move on Jared Kaler there. Can't quite pull it off as the field spreads out a little bit more now. And I think this is not what Kyle Bonnet wants to see. He wants to see fighting in front of him right now. But Tognati looks like he's made a pass here as potentially Diamond maybe got to slow down for cutting the course. But yeah, big mistake from Jared Kaler there through, I believe that was turn 1. Maybe got a little bit wide and just lost the rear end, had to get off the gas. And really that first sector of corners 1 through 4, it's all about carrying the speed, and he just lost the momentum, and the cars behind him was able to catch up and make the overtake, and that moves Thomas Toomey for University of Virginia up into second.
Yeah, it looks like Mesa Community College may be figuring out. Well, I say that as they're still working on that internet connection, but North Carolina and Charlotte is going to try and march forward. Looks like the stewards are taking a look at that lap 1 incident right there, but North Carolina and Charlotte going to try and continue to go to work on this Clemson machine right here. Those orange wheels hustling down the front straight here at Zolder, and it's going to be pretty easy even into turn 1. Doesn't look like too much of a challenge right there. The cars are close, but Matt, you have to be so close to put a move on in these Toyotas.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Kaler might be a little bit nervous as well, because obviously we saw the contact he had between himself and Kyle Bonin on lap 1 going into the first chicane. But he might be backing up his braking points a little bit more than he was expecting to in this race. And obviously the threat of a penalty does hang or loom large over Kaler as he makes a move to the inside here on Thomas Crump into turn 4. Looks like on that inside line, can Thomas Crump keep the momentum up coming down the straightaway? And it looks like he can, able to hold on to that 3rd position for now, but does he have enough speed to keep Jared Kaler behind him coming into the first chicane? We saw Kaler make a mistake early on in lap 1, maybe punting a driver here in the first chicane, but does not do it there. Loses a little bit of time, so maybe he's extra cautious there as Jared Kaler is back on the charge. It looks like Thomas Crump may be slow coming off the corner as well. He might have cut the chicane, and he might have had a slowdown penalty, giving up that position super easily as Kaler bounces over these curbs in the second chicane up into the 3rd position now.
A textbook slowdown in that chicane right there from Crump and his Clemson teammate continuing to climb the ranks right now. Kyle Bonin making his way back right now. Drexel University in his sights. He's going to try and gain some time going into this corner. And then probably in turn 1, you'll see Kyle Bonin make a move on that Drexel car just up ahead. And I also see College of San Mateo is going to try and sneak a peek around Thomas Crump. He's got the run. He has carried the momentum, and they're going to be bumper to bumper. Matt, they go in the corner side by side. Oh, but it looks like early braking gave up the position. I don't know. Maybe these drivers know something that I don't up here in the booth. It's very possible, of course. And yeah, that not only went from on the attack, now he's going to have to defend, and there's not much defense to be had, Matt. He's on the outside of a very fast turn 1, and Drexel going to be on the inside, and actually relinquishes the position. So maybe Matt braking offline here at Zolder is a little bit trickier than I anticipated, because a lot of these cars are having to brake early and give up their offensive position.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just drivers are maybe a bit nervous of these chicanes. Obviously, we saw some contact early on in this race in the first chicane, and maybe these drivers are just very nervous that they're going to get turned in on. It looks like into the gravel there, that's Alexander Diamond for Drexel University drifting out of turn 4, and he's in the Armco barriers on the outside. Looks like minimal damage, but that's not going to help his race at all as the Drexel cars now fall to 7th and 8th in the field right now as Kyle Bonin continues to make up ground on the field right now. He's trying to make a move on the College of San Mateo's Michael Tognati around the outside. It looks like Tognati's going to be defending this one as best he can, but Bonin's going to have the inside line in the second chicane here, and Bonin's going to get that one done nice and clean up into the 5th position now, and he's going to set his sights on his Clemson University teammate of Thomas Crump.
That's exactly what's coming next. But here is a little bit of battle. These two cars, Matt, cannot get separated. I think they got magnets in the bumpers because North Carolina at Charlotte is going to continue to do battle with Clemson University. They come off the second to final corner. And down here, racing into the last chicane. Maybe we can call that the final corner, one of the rare corners, real corners on this racetrack. But into the final chicane, a lot of gap made up right there. And there they go, North Carolina at Charlotte into the corner, and the advantage is retained for the time being in the final position on the podium right now, going to North Carolina at Charlotte.
Yeah, Josh, this might be the closest fight on the track right now, but there's one fight that's been heating up a little bit over the past couple laps. That's Thomas Toomey for Virginia and Ian Brown from Mesa Community College. That gap was up at about, I believe, 1.5, maybe even 2 seconds at one point. Thomas Toomey has clawed that back to about 6.5 tenths. So that battle is definitely going to be something to watch here over the next couple laps as Thomas Crump continues to try to make a pass here on Jared Kaler for North Carolina at Charlotte, as Virginia looks like he's going to try to make a pass here into the first chicane possibly.
Yeah, Virginia is looking, and that's an opportunity there. But, man, with the pace in that 166 car, he's really run down that Mesa machine. And, 5-6 laps to go here. We're working lap 5 right now. I don't know that he needs to have such a demanding sense of urgency. Obviously, you want to get it done, and he's got pace right now, so he's got an opportunity, but he doesn't need to force anything, and he doesn't certainly need a penalty. If anything happens here, it needs to be clean, needs to be precise.
Yeah, you can see at the bottom of your screen right there the lap times over the past 4 laps. It looks like Thomas Toomey makes a dive to the inside in the hairpin. Not going to get there to make the pass, but he might be able to make a move coming off the hairpin. It looks like Ian Brown got a little bit wide coming through the corner right now is on the bumper. That's Thomas Toomey in that white 166 car to the outside for this last chicane here. Can he make the move around the outside? It's going to be tough. I don't know if he can do it. Looks like he'll hang tight on the inside there for the next part of the chicane, but he gets bumped off the track. Thomas Toomey is going to hold on to that second place for now, but this fight is heating up now that there's contact involved.
It is, and the stewards have noted they are looking at the connectivity of that Mesa machine. You saw right there, it did not help. He was gone from our screen and gone from the awareness of the 166 as they got to the inside of that chicane. So not sure what the situation is there, but no matter, just as you will need to have a safe and operational car at your local track, these drivers need to have an internet connection that is fair, shall we say, for all competitors, and that's what they're working on right now. And I tell you, that was an awkward exchange because I think Thomas Toomey, maybe Virginia, had a little slowdown right there because they gave back a ton of time. Obviously, more so than I thought they would need to. They gave the position back, but they didn't need to give that full second back. But maybe they did, according to iRacing.
Yeah, let's look at the battle back between Crump and Kaler for the third position right now. You can see those lap times really yo-yoing back and forth between the two drivers. One lap it's Crump, the next is Kaler, and so on and so forth. But Kyle Bonin now is sneaking his way into this fight right now. Kyle Bonin obviously probably not too happy with the antics of Jared Kaler on that first lap, as obviously he was on the receiving end of a little bit of bumping and banging in the chicanes. But he's now only about a second behind Kaler. It looks like Kaler might have a slowdown here as he gives up the position to Crump. It looks like Kyle Bonin is also going to get by here to move up into the 4th position. So a bad lap for Kaler as he loses 2 spots there, drops from 3rd to 5th as the battle at the front continues to get a bit closer now. We saw Thomas Toomey, he had to fall back from Ian Brown after having a little bit of contact in this last chicane. As it looks like Ian Brown might be pulling into the pits there. Ian Brown, your race leader for the first 6 laps of this race, is pulled into the pit lane. Some sort of technical issue, maybe, not sure what it is. But Ian Brown's going to relinquish the lead of this race, and Thomas Toomey is going to come to the stripe and lead for the first time this evening.
Yeah, that is correct. The University of Virginia, that's going to be a good opportunity for that crew, and you are correct, Matt. It was called to pits by the steward and race control. That internet not up to snuff, and very hard to race when your competitors are in and out that way. But the battle continues because Clemson University has got a battle on their hands. Those sets of orange wheels are closing in on each other. That's Thomas Crump leading the way. Kyle Bonin has come back from his lap 1 excursion, ironically off the nose of that North Carolina at Charlotte car right there, and down into this chicane they go. This was the scene of the crime at the opening stint of this race, but right here, yeah, look at that run, trying to make that chicane as straight as possible, and not much battle there. Looks like Thomas Crump going to try and slot in line, and maybe that driver can take some notes on the line, see what is working so well right now for Kyle Bonin, and then take some draft right there. I'll tell you what is working well is jumping over every one of those curves. Oh, and around is the 16.
Yeah, Crump coming off that second chicane there. I guess he just got a little loose, that rear end not planted, gets in the gas and just spins it around. We're going to get a replay of that, see what exactly happened for Crump. We saw him slow down or just maybe bad off the first chicane, and that really resulted in letting Bonin by. But as they come through the second chicane here, I didn't see anything through the chicane that would really suggest that, oh, it's that left or that right-hander there. He just took too much curb. It's upset the back end of the car, and that really sent him around there. It's almost backs into Tognati there, trying to rejoin the track, but no harm, no foul there. As Thomas Crump unfortunately spins from the 3rd position at the time, back down to 5th now.
Yeah, and here we go. This is back on. This is where we've resumed Clemson's Thomas Crump. So the order sorted out a bit now, and these gaps are trying to be resolved, as you can see right there. But tell you what the run is right now. We're going to see if North Carolina at Charlotte only has about 2.7 laps, we'll say. to capture that Clemson University car. We know he's got the pace, but the pass is going to be pretty tricky. That's to say, Matt. I don't know if he can actually if he can get there to the back bumper. But I tell you what, I would love to see just an outright race because I tell you what, the Clemson University's Kyle Bonin and the University of Virginia, I bet that they could have something to say if they could get in the same part of racetrack.
For sure. It looks like Kyle Bunn is able to close the gap a couple tenths here and there throughout this track right now, but it's going to be tough because there's only going to be 2 laps left when they get back in the stripe. And you got to remember, Kyle Bunn has a little bit of damage on his car. You can see that right side all banged up, looking like it's been through the wars and through the gravel, which it has been. Is currently the gap about 2.7 seconds between Toomey and Bonin. We'll see what what can transpire between these 2 drivers, but it's going to be very tough. It looks like Toomey's just ever, slightly slower these last couple laps. But remember, Toomey was fighting Ian Brown a little bit as well, and Bonin, most of his overtakes came from the kind of off tracks or just incidents from other drivers where they really had to let the other driver by.
Yeah, that was the case, and so I'm becoming increasingly eager to see how the second heat here pans out. Though I do see that Jared Kaler pitted right there, and I don't know what that would have been for. Jared Kaler running a solid 3rd place. I do not see anything from the stewards right there, but Jared Kaler bringing that car down pit road. In fact, jumping to pit lane right there, so having to tow. So something not right with that car, and it looks like it's going to be College of San Mateo. We talked about it. I'm not surprised to see the College of San Mateo and Michael Tognati on the final step of the podium as we get to the end of this one, Matt.
Yeah, for sure. I think we talked about it at the start of this race that Michael Tognati last week started in the back of race 1, kind of gained the confidence throughout the first race, and he's done it again tonight. And I think he's kept his nose out of trouble, and I think he's done a really good job to get up into that 3rd position. He hasn't spun, he hasn't wrecked with anyone, and I think it's been a very clean race from Tognati. As it looks like Kyle Bonin there spins coming through the first chicane, actually. Does a fantastic job to keep it from looping around completely on him. But man, that was a very scary moment for Clemson's Kyle Bonin.
Yeah, that was, and well held right there. He's not taking as much curb right now. He's got a little bit more patience as he tries and gets that sorted out. I wonder if it was a curb that did in the North Carolina at Charlotte team, because that crew is in pit lane. Looks like buffing out some fenders right now, though. Probably a toe link or so as he was trying to feel that car out, making his way to pit lane. But coming to take the white flag, it's all on right now for Thomas Toomey. He's the white Virginia Cavalier there in your screen, being chased down and actually opening up a gap. Added about 2 seconds to it last time since I checked. Thomas Toomey there in the Virginia car being chased by Clemson. I'll tell you who is closing that gap to the leader, the College of San Mateo. So we will not have enough laps to see, but perhaps in a parallel universe, those two had a pretty solid battle, San Mateo and Virginia. But here we are, it's the white flag and the last trip around the circuit. Now, Matt, I would expect those gaps to slow down since a wise Virginia driver here will be a little bit more conservative with such a gap right there.
Yeah, I think that moment for Bonin at the first chicane really cost him. I think you could see those last 4 laps prior to lap 9 catching a couple tenths per lap on Thomas Toomey, and then has a moment in that first chicane and loses tons of time. So unfortunate for Bonin, and I think Bonin would have had some very good pace. This would have been a very good fight between these 2 drivers. Unfortunately, Bonin was kind of clawing back from the back of the field the whole race. Toomey was able to keep his nose at the front and make moves when it was advantageous. As he comes through the first chicane for the final time for race 1, as he does a great job, and he comes down here to the Villeneuve chicane here at Circuit Zolder. There's Kyle Bonin in the background there, chasing the leader, Thomas Toomey.
Yeah, and into that 3rd sector that we talked about, finally an opportunity to breathe a little bit. No chicanes, if only for a moment. Up over the crest, the soft left-hand corner right there, if you can call it as such, down into what is most certainly a corner. Hard right-hander, heavy braking, and it should be smooth sailing for the Virginia team. Here in Heat 1, it's an opportunity to get some points on the board, and a fair amount. The 166 car is going to make his way down into the final chicane. It's on the brakes, it's a left, and then a right. And bouncing across those curbs, Matt, that's the victory for the 166 car, followed by Clemson University there on your screen.
Yeah, Thomas Toomey comes to the stripe now to take the checkered flag for the race one of the GR86 Cup. Following him a couple seconds behind, Kyle Bonin with a valiant effort in this race, wrecked on lap one, fights all the way back to P2, and coming home in third place for race one, it's Michael Tognati, started on the last row of the grid, able to work his way through the field and come home for a very solid third place as Thomas Crump comes home in fourth. A spin late in the race is going to cost him a couple spots as the two Drexel University cars are the last two active in the field right now, coming to take the checkered flag as Diamond comes home in fifth, and Drexel's Timothy Wilms will come home in sixth as well. Both Jared Kaler and Ian Brown retired from the first race. Ian Brown with connectivity issues, I believe, or hopefully he'll have that fixed for race two. And Jared Kaler with an unknown issue pulled into the pits with, I believe, 2 or 3 laps to go. We're still going to try to diagnose what happened to Kaler, and obviously you're theorizing maybe tow rod bent or something, some damage due to a curb, but these curbs around here are vicious, and they definitely took victims in this first race.
Yeah, they did, but I'll tell you, he's going to be pretty pleased with this first race. Matt, we've got an opportunity to talk to Thomas Toomey, the Virginia Cavalier behind the wheel of the 166 car. And Thomas, congratulations on that win there. That seemed to be a pretty eventful first heat. We had internet issues, we had curb issues, but walk us through that race from your perspective.
Yeah, I think that was an exciting one. I think the car kind of gets better to drive as the race progresses. So I started to find some pace. Unfortunately, there's some internet issues there, so we weren't able to race side by side. But yeah, looking forward to the next heat.
Yeah, Toomey, you ran a really good race in the first heat tonight, but obviously second heat you're going to have a flip field, and these chicanes here at Zolder are treacherous, and you really got to punish them and really thrash your car around them to get time out of this track. Are you worried at all in this first lap about cars maybe get a little overzealous or overambitious heading into these chicanes that could catch you up in a wreck?
Well, thankfully I'm starting last, so I'm just going to try and keep my eyes out and see how it goes and see how many positions I can gain.
Sounds well stated, Thomas. So congrats on Heat 1. That was a tough one to get through, but good luck there in Heat 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Thomas Toomey, the University of Virginia driver, and I think he said it. Just got to get through the chicanes, get through the cars. Yeah, I do feel a bit deprived, Matt, there of the battle that could have been between Virginia and Mesa Community College, maybe even Virginia and Clemson, and or Virginia and the College of San Mateo. But I don't think it's a surprise. The common denominator there is Virginia, a very fast driver from that stable. So there on your screen, it looks like all the parts replaced and fresh anew on the North Carolina at Charlotte machine. Jared Kaler getting back in the rhythm in that 58 car.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, unfortunately, he's probably not going to be happy with finishing 7th in that first heat. But the benefit of that is he's going to start on the outside pole for the second race tonight. So he should have mostly clean track in front of him. I don't know if there are any penalties assessed to Kaler for that first race incident between him and Bonin. But if there aren't, then he'll start in second. And he'll only have Ian Brown if Ian Brown's able to take the green flag for the second race. So I'm sure he'll be happy to avoid most of the chaos that's going to occur behind him. But I think what Thomas Toomey was talking about, starting in the back and just keeping his eyes out, that's exactly what Tognati did that first race. He started in the back, exact same position that I believe the second place car and Kyle Bonin is going to start in. I think Toomey just wants to focus on his driving and let other people wreck themselves out, spin over the curbs, exactly like Tognati did, and he should hopefully march his way through the field up into a podium position or maybe even a second win tonight for Toomey.
Yeah, I think so, and I mean that seems to be the theme, Matt. Is there's two things that hold true. A lot of times the drivers that do well in the first heat seem to distill their way up to the top in the second heat, and then the second thing that always happens is they say, "I just made sure that I kept the car together and I managed my expectations and cutting through traffic the whole race." So that's going to be the key once again. If you're starting back in this pack here and you want to get to the front, you're going to have to do that carefully. So that seems to be the case here. And I think that'll be fun to watch some of those drivers. Again, we talked about the battle between Clemson's Kyle Bonin and Thomas Toomey, and we're going to have that because they're going to start side by side when we go green. But I'll tell you who is going to start out front Ian Brown. And I would say Ian has an opportunity here to run away, but Jared Kaler and North Carolina and Charlotte are going to be in a really good opportunity to hold step with that 003. So we're going to have a couple little races going on here, Matt.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're looking at Ian Brown now. It looks like his connectivity issues have been fixed for the most part, knock on wood. But he's looking very fast. He was very fast in the first race. Just unfortunate that mechanical gremlins put him out of it. And I think he's going to have a chance to rectify that in the second race right now as our warm-up session is about to come to the end, or the close here. Is right behind. Looks like that's Alex Diamond. Didn't have the most spectacular first race. I think he got caught up in a spin early on and was just on the back foot from there. But he's trying to follow in the footsteps of Ian Brown right now. Maybe learn a few lines, get a couple tenths here and there from each corner, and just keep working his way towards the front of the field. Hopefully, he has a better race this second heat.
Yeah, I think we can observe that, and yeah, Alex Diamond doing really well. Actually, we talk about the school championships, Matt, but Alex Diamond doing very well in his own student championship. Some would say leading the student championship. And so that 49 car, make no mistake, is very consistent, has a couple wins this season. In fact, a double win there at Charlotte. And yeah, that Drexel machine, Alexander Diamond, he is leading the student points here as we cross the midway part of the season. But these drivers are going to grid again. Matt, it looks like it is time to read it off.
So on the pole position for race 2 tonight, we said it was Ian Brown. Unfortunately retired in the first race with the mechanical gremlins. Well, he will get the benefit of that reverse grid by starting on pole for the second race. Jared Kaler also retired due to some sort of mechanical gremlins, maybe damage, maybe penalties, who knows, not quite sure. But Kaler in that outside pole position for North Carolina at Charlotte. Timothy Wilms and Drexel University's Alexander Diamond will start third and fourth for Drexel. That lock out of the second row for Drexel. In the fifth right now, it's Thomas Crump from Clemson University. He finished fourth in race 1. He's going to start fifth in race 2. Michael Tognati had a good first race. He came home on the podium, but he's going to start sixth in race 2 tonight. Kyle Bonin, he's a runner-up. He had a early race incident in race 1. Crawled his way back to second place in race 1, and then he'll be starting 7th for race 2 for Clemson. And then Thomas Toomey for the University of Virginia won race 1, but he's going to be starting way back at the back of the pack in race 2 tonight. Josh?
Yeah, so up at the front we got two cars that I'm really interested to see competing on the front row, and two cars that I'm interested to see competing on the final row of this one. They'll be trying to work their way forward, and the battle for the midfield is going to be pretty intriguing as well. I think a couple of those cars, Drexel University, going to try and hold step right there, and Alex Diamond going to see if he can improve that 4th place position. But yeah, we know that the final heat always gets a little bit more dangerous for these drivers, and so it's going to be one that we have to keep an eye on. Hopefully everybody's got their fresh tie rods on their car. The fresh internet connection did confirm a router restart on that 003 back and forth. So Mesa Community College and Ian Brown going to do their best. It's a pole position. We'll see if the internet can hold up long enough here as these drivers work their way around the second sector and the second chicane here. The first chicane at Circuit Zolder. But getting into the corner now, yeah, Matt, this is going to be pretty intriguing from these drivers, and I think we're going to see a couple school colors on opposing cars.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to Ian Brown here. I think he's going to have a good race. He had a great start in race 1, so I expect to see the same from him in race 2. I think maybe a little bit of nerves potentially from Kaler here. He had a race 1 incident on lap 1, so he might be trying to keep his nose clean. Who knows, maybe that's what caused him to retire, just too much damage from that in the end. Maybe his tow rods were broken the entire race and just couldn't continue from there. But they come to this hairpin now as they begin to line up 2 by 2 as they get ready to go green here, Josh.
Yeah, down into the corner, we're going to see that pace car pull off. I don't know if Mesa will kind of back these cars up just a little bit. That's an opportunity for these drivers to get a little gamesmanship, we'll say, on the restart here for all you oval aficionados. You guys aren't the only ones with the sauce, but coming in here, actually looks like that's not the case. Right on the back bumper, 2 by 2. They're going to go through the final chicane, Matt, and the green flag is about to be thrown.
Yeah, Ian Brown in the blue and red car. Jared Kaler in that bright blue car. It looks like Ian Brown wants to get on the gas early here as we are green for the second race now. And it looks like Jared Kaler is able to tuck in right behind Ian Brown. And Jared Kaler is going to take a look to the inside here in turn 1. Can he get it done? Not quite, as he backs out of that fight as the battle at the back of the pack heats up. Thomas Crump currently in the 6th position under pressure from Drexel's Timothy Wilms and Kyle Bonin right now. It looks like Wilms goes off the track a little bit as Ian Brown is able to retain the lead through turns 1 and 2. Can he hold Jared Kaler off through 3 and 4, Josh?
Yeah, that's the key right here. Down through the corner, nose to tail, Mesa continues to lead. Drexel University has snuck up into that 3rd position. And a bit of a surprise start, Matt. I did not expect that it would be advantageous. It was not advantageous for Mesa to accelerate right off of that corner right there. The revs were higher on the outside car for all you geometry fans. So right there, both those cars hopping up over the curbs, and UNC Charlotte, North Carolina at Charlotte, they're going to try to make the work again. I mean, in that position, not a big rush, but there's the sense of urgency. I see Virginia ahead of San Mateo. There's Clemson and Clemson. Those 2 drivers will try and agree on where they can put their cars. Suddenly it's Virginia and then Kyle Bonin right behind. Side by side. Ooh, it looks like a little bit of a pinch right there, but College of San Mateo is going to come out on top of that one. And Matt, down into the heavy braking zone. What can North Carolina at Charlotte do, and what will become of the battle behind?
Yeah, Jared Kaler can't quite get there coming down to the hairpin. It looks like he had a little bit of a moment, got a little bit loose potentially as further back. It looks like Thomas Toomey is trying to make a move on Alexander Diamond out of Drexel University right now as that battle really heats up now, nose to tail, as Kyle Bonin wants to make a move here on Thomas Toomey right on the bumper, but he can't quite get there going into the final chicane as Ian Brown is able to lead the first lap, but behind him it's chaos behind as they all try to scramble for each position right now. As Toomey a little bit off the track there into the dirt. That's going to cost him a little bit of time and maybe give Kyle Bonin the opportunity to make a move into the first turn.
Yeah, look at these drivers, the battle for the lead heating up. Virginia looking low. Oh, and it looks like Drexel actually going to give some room here. Alexander Diamond knows that he's in a good position. He doesn't need to battle and defend all the way home. Looks like those 2 drivers are going to make the pass. Kyle Bonin, but Kyle Bonin is not really clear, Matt. That's going to slow him up a ton, and a little bit of daylight there for the University of Virginia for all you Cavalier fans.
Yeah, it looks like Diamond maybe wasn't expecting a move there from the University of Virginia's Thomas Toomey, but at the front of the field right now, only a 1/10 of a second separates your 2 leaders at the moment as Ian Brown on the inside in that Mesa Community College car. Jared Kaler around the outside. Can he get the move done? A little bit of contact there maybe. The nose cut off of Jared Kaler as no damage done there, is able to continue on, and I think Jared Kaler trying to make a move around the outside of the chicane is not going to work very often, but you might as well try it.
Yeah, you can try it right there, probably a bit early in the race to do so, but I'll tell you what I noticed was that Mesa car bounced right off the curb, and I don't know if there was an intent to leave room for North Carolina at Charlotte or not, but that car went wide, and that Jarrett probably had an off track there. We can see the 166 car. He's going to sneak by. Can Clemson make a move here? Yeah, so North Carolina at Charlotte, I guess seeing that these cars have, and they have, Matt, run down from a long way back, and North Carolina at Charlotte doing maybe a wise move, seeing if he can just take some notes and try and learn right here. Oh, we've seen this before, Matt, into the first chicane on the first lap of the first heat.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like Kyle Bonin is going to break nice and deep in the last chicane. Doesn't want to get rear-ended again by Kaler. A little bit of deja vu there, seeing that bright blue car in the mirror for Kyle Bonin, but gets through nice and clean right now as he tries to set his sights on Thomas Toomey and Ian Brown. As Ian Brown is checked out now, 2.1 seconds to gap, 2.2 now between Brown and Toomey. We'll see what Toomey can do. We saw him chase down that gap in the first races. It looks like Kyle Bonin a little wide there in the first turn as they navigate here for lap 3.
Yeah, and there it is, Mesa Community College. I'll tell you what, though, we mentioned it, Virginia may be able to provide a challenge before this one is over. 7 laps to go, so it's a ways to go. In fact, probably 7.5 at this point in life. So Virginia is trying to march towards that leader. That gap we'll have to watch over time. But, yeah, riding on board right now with North Carolina at Charlotte. You can see what it looks like for these cars trying to go in the straightaway and into that chicane. You just want to grab as much of that as you can. All these drivers over, and yeah, might even be an off track. By the way, Matt, these drivers, similar to V8 supercars, as we get to the end of this one, those chicanes are going to be even straighter yet, as those drivers are willing to take those off tracks as long as they are under the limit. Fans can think of it as fouls to give in basketball. There's going to be an opportunity for lap time there.
Yeah, I think we just saw Jared Kaler make another mistake going over that first chicane. Got the off track. We heard him lift off the gas coming out of the chicane. Definitely a slowdown there. So he's going to lose tons of time to this battle for the last podium position, as looks like Kyle Bonin now has chased down Thomas Toomey for the University of Virginia. This fight between the two ACC schools is heating up right now. Kyle Bonin, he thinks he's got the fastest car on the track right now, and I believe he does. He has the fastest. Actually, Thomas Crump has the fastest lap of the race, I believe. Check that. It is Thomas Toomey, but I saw purple on my timing tower. I thought it was Thomas Crump. But these drivers continue on as 4/10 of a second, the gap between Clemson and Virginia right now, as it gets down to only a couple tenths, and Kyle Bonin now going around the outside of Thomas Toomey. Toomey with the poor exit out of the last chicane, and that's going to give Bonin the second position as he looks to set his sights now on Ian Brown.
Yeah, Thomas Toomey, a big slip. Thomas Toomey was 2 seconds off the lead, is now 2.8 or so. So that corner exit across the front stretch, not doing any favors there. But Clemson now is going to take their turn, as we say, lap 4 of 10 to try and march on towards Mesa Community College. So Ian Brown appears to does have that internet sorted out. He is smooth sailing down his way forward, and suddenly the College of San Mateo. You mentioned Thomas Crump and the College of San Mateo, and Michael Tognati is going to try. Yeah, he's getting a run out of that corner, and there it is, side by side. But will there be an advantage, a nose in the corner? Who can be latest on the brakes? It looks like Thomas Crump is going to give way there, and big over the curbs right there, but back side by side. Matt, here they come again, up over the hill and down into the next chicane. They will be bumper to bumper.
Crump's going to have this inside line here for the second chicane here. Late on the brakes there for Thomas Crump. I thought he was going to overshoot the chicane, but might have just been Tognati earlier on the brakes than Crump, as it looks like Jared Kaler now is under pressure. Jared Kaler's gotten back up to Thomas Toomey. What has happened to Thomas Toomey there? He's lost tons of time to the battle in front, and now Toomey's going to give up that third position to Jared Kaler. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if maybe he got off track.
Yeah, Thomas Toomey, a little bit of a mid-race speed that's not quite found here. He's going to try and come back on the inside. I guess he could argue he's got position. He does now, side by side, late on the brakes. That car bouncing all the while out. And yeah, you cannot be side by side, Matt, in these chicanes, because you're going to have a car in your door. But I'll tell you what I do observe. This three-car battle rages on, but on the timing tower I do see about a half second taken out of that lead right now. It's going to be interesting to watch in about 3 laps or so. Big contact between North Carolina at Charlotte and the University of Virginia. Sideways through the grass, but held straight. But that's going to be Virginia for the time being in that position, and that is going to be some incident points that they did get to spend, Matt.
You know, I mentioned at the start of the broadcast that the NASCAR Euro Wheeling Series has their season finale here, and I couldn't tell if this was GR86 or NASCAR at that point with how much those drivers are rubbing against each other. Really leaning on Jared Kaler there, Toomey was, and I don't think the stewards are going to have much to say about that. It looks like both cars came out okay, but I'm sure Jared Kaler doesn't appreciate that as he tries to get back past Thomas Toomey here through the first chicane. I think that first chicane has been Kaler's biggest weakness all night. I think we've really seen him struggle through there with slowdowns and really keeping the pace of the car in front of him. So we'll see if Kaler can catch back up to Toomey as he mounts the curbs there in the second chicane. As looks like Alexander Diamond, having a much better second race, wants to move up onto the podium position as well.
Yeah, those 3 drivers shooting off into the corner right now. This is going to be another heavy braking zone and an opportunity for passing, but not looking like this lap. Drexel University, though. That's Alex Diamond. So we talked about the student points leader. He's trying to get some of these positions back. So really shaking up the midfield. I don't know if this will be an opportunity down into the chicane or if he'll try a little bit later. Yeah, back in line. That was probably going to be a very deep lunge if it was to be, Matt.
Yeah, I think Diamond's in a really good spot right now as the gap at the front of the field is close to within a second between Clemson and Mesa Community College. Really 8 tenths between them now as close battle on track. Still Diamond and Kaler for that 4th position. And I think Diamond, or maybe Kaler there, gets a little bit wide coming out of turn 1. That's going to give Diamond the opportunity to maybe make a move here into turn 2, but can't quite get there. And Kaler, I think, a bit wider on entry is going to give him a bit more momentum coming through turns 3 and 4 as well. But at the front of the field, 6/10 of a second separate Clemson and Mesa Community College.
Yeah, that gap is dropping right now, Matt. It is down from 2 to about 1.5, and suddenly I blinked and we were at half a second. Looks like pulling it back out, Drexel University. Is there an option here Defending, that's probably where I'd want to be. North Carolina at Charlotte there on the inside. Both cars on the brakes. Big across. Oh, it has to bail out of the corner and we'll come back. That'll probably be either a slowdown or something to that effect. So that might hang down. But right there, here's the battle for the lead. Both these drivers on the curbs. And look at that lap difference. Kyle Bonin half a second faster per lap. I guess can't argue that with the way we've seen that that interval fall down there. But yeah, coming down into the final corner right now, Clemson University has really a lot of time left on the board to try and make this pass for the lead. This could be pretty spicy.
Yeah, but you got to remember that catching is one thing and passing is a whole another, especially around this track where the chicanes can really hold up a driver. If you're not, if you're not careful, I think the chicanes are really the best overtaking opportunity, maybe except for turn 1. So you really have to get great exits out of the chicanes and great brake. You have to have solid braking into the chicanes as well to make an overtake. And we saw that gap at only a couple tenths of a second just half a lap ago, and now it's back up to 8.5 tenths. So really, when Kyle Bonin gets his opportunity, he might only have one chance left in this race if he can get a good exit out of one of these corners into the chicane. So we'll have to watch how this battle develops, but Kyle Bonin right now definitely on the hunt.
Yeah, on the hunt, and that was maybe a lap to forget there, lap 6. But something that's very fun about Zolder down into this turn 1, and we saw it when we were on board with Diamond and Drexel University. Those drivers really have to wait to turn into turn 1. You look at the corner, you look in, your eyes tell you that you want to dive down, but you really have to wait. Hit the brakes a little bit later, turn it a little bit later to keep the run off and power. If you do it well, you can power all the way from that corner exit to where we see these drivers now coming off that corner. Yeah, grabbing a little bit of that gravel, as one does, and down back into the corner. I tell you what, this battle has been raging, but good on North Carolina at Charlotte. They have been playing defense for a couple laps now, and it's going pretty well.
Yeah, the gap at the front of the field is shrinking a little bit down to 4 tenths now. We saw it about 8 tenths at the start of the lap as Ian Brown still under constant pressure out at Mesa Community College. He's done a great job in this first race. We saw him defend very well in the first race as well, but unfortunately connectivity issues put a damper on his race as coming out of turn 9 through turn 10 now, this quick flat out left-right chicane into the final corner. The gap up to about 7 tenths of a second now. So Ian Brown maybe not as strong in the first half of the lap, but when it comes to that middle sector with all those chicanes and tight corners, Ian Brown is definitely able to pull it out and able to stretch out that gap far enough to where he might not be under pressure for his weaker part of the lap in the first half of it.
Yeah, we heard Thomas Toomey from Virginia say after his first heat win that the car comes alive a little bit as it gets into the mid and end of the race, at least these shorter sprint races. And so here these drivers have an opportunity. Maybe Ian and Mesa Community College, maybe they favor kind of that when that car comes alive a little bit more than Bonin and Clemson University does. But nonetheless, it's all on right here. 3 laps to go, Matt. They're coming into this first chicane right here, and it does look like Kyle Bonin is able to close up this gap just a little bit. I don't know if he's got a run right here. We can see that he is all over the back of Mesa Community College. In fact, closing a great run out of that corner, and yeah, maybe just not close enough to make the move. And right there, these drivers, yeah, now we are going to see these drivers going straight over the curbs. Doesn't matter where the incident points are anymore. You just need to avoid those slowdowns.
Yeah, oh, really wide there for Ian Brown. It looks like Ian Brown might have gotten a slowdown coming through that chicane,
That would be the slowdown.
Ian Brown, a mistake through the first chicane costs him dearly here as he had to give up the lead with only 3 laps, really 2.5 laps left to go. And we saw the pace of Kyle Bonin in clean air, and it's going to be a question. Can Ian Brown get back to the lead? Only 5 tenths of a second between them right now, but Bonin, I think, very strong in the first half of the lap, and we'll have to see how this plays out right now as Ian Brown is going to be on the hunt for the first time tonight now.
Ian Brown is going to be on the hunt, and you know, hopefully we get something here. Matt and Clemson was running the leader down at such an efficient pace. I do wonder if they just kind of grow that gap for the next 2 laps here. But that's exactly what they got. They got 2 laps as they come to the green flag this time by. It's going to be 2 to go, and Clemson and Mesa Community College are going to put on the battle here at Circuit Zolder. Back in the top of your screen was the University of Virginia, 5 seconds behind this, but it looks like it's all on right here. Down into the first corner, Mesa Community College hopping that curb, trying to use as little track as possible over to the side. Don't turn in too early. These drivers have got it all dialed in right now. just staying off those curbs right there. Kyle Bonin doing it nicely, trying to use as much track as he can and out here. So this is where we saw the run from Clemson last time by. Now the following cars, Mesa Community College, Matt, will they be able to get a run out of this corner and do something into one of the next upcoming chicanes?
Yeah, Ian Brown did a great job through that first half of the lap to really keep close to Kyle Bonin. I was surprised because we saw him, he struggled a little bit there. He lost a little bit of time to Kyle Bonin while he was in the lead, but there he really kept close to that rear bumper of the Clemson University machine as they come down to the second chicane now. I think this is the part of the track where Ian Brown really excels, and I expect to see him maybe make up a couple tenths here and there. It looks like Kyle Bonin took all of the curb there coming out of the second chicane. On the grass there as well, he's going to get a little bit loose, and that's going to give Ian Brown the opportunity here to maybe make a run down into the hairpin. The gap now 2.5 tenths of a second. Will Ian Brown make the lunge? Looks like Kyle Bonin goes a little defensive for Clemson University. Throws the dummy down the inside. Can Kyle Bonin defend it? No! Ian Brown with an opportunistic move late on the brakes and into the hairpin. There's only going to be one lap to go when they get back to the stripe, and Ian Brown, fantastic move. He caught Kyle Bonin off guard there.
He did. What a racing move down into the final corner of this racetrack. You said it exactly. Matt sold the dummy. Mesa Community College now back on top, but Clemson University is going to have one more lap to come back, and nothing is set in stone right now. We talked about that gap is dropping to P3, but probably not going to matter here unless significant contact is made between these two drivers. But that was a big risk, and Kyle Bonin, yeah, chose, I think, just to not be pushed off track, made the decision to live right there. And here he goes to the inside. Is he going to be a little bit later on the brakes? No, he's actually going to be inside, Matt. That's going to stall his speed a little bit. Mesa Community College is going to continue to win Sector 1 here on the final lap.
Yeah, I think Ian Brown has really kicked it up into another gear here on these final couple of laps. I think he gets a pretty poor exit there, though. That's going to give Kyle Bonin the chance to make a move here, but it looks like Ian Brown's going to go nice and defensive into this first chicane here, side by side down the backstretch for the final time in race 2 tonight. Ian Brown on the inside, Kyle Bonin on the outside, late on the brakes for both drivers, but Ian Brown is going to come out on top. So hard to make a move around the outside there in the first chicane, but can Kyle Bonin attack here into the second chicane now? Looks like he's going to have the outside, or potentially inside here, actually, again, for Ian Brown. It looks like late on the brakes, both drivers, absolutely fantastic action between the two of them, but it looks like Kyle Bonin gets a better exit out of the second chicane there.
Oh, and a wiggle right there, just off camera. That could be it for Clemson University. That gap up to over 1 second now on the timing. That was a massive gap compared to what we've been seeing, and there it was. All the momentum in these cars, it's all on Mesa Community College now. That's the opportunity. He was trying to set it up. He was doing really well, Clemson, trying to keep offline the Mesa machine. But, yeah, just what can you do? You're racing hard, grab those curbs there. But, Matt, it's going to be a hard-fought, well-earned victory for that 003 car. It's the right and one last curb to go, and Mesa Community College, Ian Brown across the line. And that, Matt, that was a race here at Circuit Zolder.
What a battle in the last couple laps there between Mesa Community College and Clemson University. Absolutely great racing between the two of them, clean throughout the entire thing. Ian Brown, he knew he had one opportunity to make the pass for the win after giving it up on a slowdown penalty in the first chicane, and he took it with both hands. We're going to see if we can get a replay here of that pass for the win coming into the hairpin on the penultimate lap. Looks like Kyle Bonin in the lead there. Gets a bit of a poor exit, but able to hold the defensive line coming into the hairpin. But Ian Brown throws a great dummy, makes him think he's going to try to go around outside, and late on the brakes, gets it stopped in time for the corner, and just slides up into the lead with only one lap to go. Josh, what a fantastic move.
It's textbook trickery from the 003 car, and Ian Brown will be very proud of that move. That's if you could hang an MP4 file or a video, Matt, on your fridge, I think that would be going on the fridge. That's a proper move down into that corner. We know that these cars are not so easy to get the braking performance from, so it was a bold move. It was a calculated risk that paid off for Mesa Community College, and let's not forget the final lap there, a massive attack in just about every corner, every chicane from Clemson's Kyle Bonin, and well defended there again from Ian Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fight that I think we wanted to see more of, but obviously 10 laps for these races, quick and fast and furious for these races, as I think now it's about time we hear from some of our drivers who finished on the podium tonight. I think joining us first in the waiting room this evening is going to be Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia. You heard him after race one, winning race one tonight. He's going to finish heat 2 on the podium. Thomas, congrats on the podium finish in the second race tonight. We saw you kind of battling there with Jared Kaler for a little bit. Go ahead, talk through that. We saw a bit of back and forth between the two of you.
Yeah, I was pushing really hard and got 2 slowdowns, so that pushed me out of the kind of the lead pack draft. So had battled with him a little bit. Thankfully, was able to get a bit of a gap, but the damage had been done, and that's pretty much where I was going to finish at the end of the race, unless I made a mistake.
Yeah, what is the secret, Thomas, on these chicanes? We've talked in the past a little bit before, just generally around these chicanes. What makes them so tricky, and what makes the fast drivers good? Is it as easy as making a straight line through all these chicanes here at Zolder?
It just takes a lot of practice, I'd say. I mean, I think hitting it in like a higher gear and going faster takes a lot of confidence. So, the more you kind of practice that, the more comfortable it gets. And when you hit them at speed, then the suspension kind of behaves a little bit nicer. But again, if you take too much of it, then it will spin you sometimes. So you have to be careful.
Very well. Well, man, what fun to watch all of you and yourself, Virginia, compete tonight. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out or thank before we turn you loose?
I just want to give a shout out to CiL and everyone racing tonight. That was a fun field.
I think we'd have to agree. Have a great one.
Thank you.
And Matt, that was a very, very happy Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia. His finishing tonight is race win and then third place here in Heat 2. So a very good run. But now we have an opportunity to talk to Kyle Bonin from the University of Clemson and from second place on our podium tonight. So Kyle, hopefully you've had a chance to regain your breath and towel off a little bit, but I'll say walk us through that entire ordeal, the last 2 laps, and what was your plan of attack there for the final lap? You were making a couple moves.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of had me, once he got past me, it's pretty tough to actually pass here unless you're going to dive into the chicanes, and I don't really like to race that way, firstly. And then secondly, I also had quite a bit of off track, so I couldn't really risk any sort of contact or else I would have had a penalty. So good on Ian there to just drive defensively, and basically there was nothing I could do there. But yeah, it was actually a pretty tricky track, I have to admit, to race on. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, Kyle, congratulations on the second place finish in both races tonight. I want to ask you, I think you spent a lot of the night tonight on the attack. Obviously, you had the incident in race one that set you back, and then starting in the back of the pack for race two, and you got to the lead in the final couple laps there of race two. Is it a difficult mindset to switch between attacking for pretty much 19 of the 20 laps you raced tonight and then having to defend for the last lap?
Yeah, I honestly probably should have been more defensive. Into that hairpin when Ian got back past me, and I was just watching that and kind of kicking myself over that, because that was like basically the first lap I had to drive defensively, and didn't really realize that he was close enough to be able to do that. I thought for sure that he had missed his braking point, just how quickly he was closing in on me, and then no, he made it stick. So yeah, I kind of kicked myself over that one a bit. But like you said, just 19 laps of attacking and then that one of defending, I wasn't able to keep it together.
Yeah, well, Kyle, I was going to say, well, Kyle, that was a great 2 races from you either way, especially after that first race. You can't be too mad with the second place there. But we have to ask you, anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast this evening who makes it possible for you?
Yeah, I guess probably like my usual, thanking the OWR guys and, for making this enjoyable with them and having our voice chat as we do the race about strategy and whatnot. And then also you guys, the admins of CiL, and people who either stored the race or are on the broadcast for making this all happen, keeping it going.
Well, Kyle, thank you for racing with us tonight. It was fun to watch you race. Hope to see you again up here sometime soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
And that was Kyle Bond, your second race or your second place finisher in both races tonight. Josh, he ran great races the entire night. I think that he definitely wishes he had that second to last lap back for that second race against Ian Brown.
You could hear it in his voice if you weren't paying attention to what he said in the interview. But yeah, that's just going to be sometimes you have a race and sometimes you don't win, and it hurts to lose those fun ones like that. But now, Matt, we are going to talk to the winner of the fun race. So from Mesa Community College, on top of the podium, Ian Brown. First of all, congratulations, Ian. We'll ask you the same question we ask your opponent. Walk us through that final maybe 2 or 3 laps, and then what was your game plan, and walk us through that move into the final corner.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly had pace on me, and then I made a mistake on lap 8, I think, and got a slowdown penalty, which is why I let him by. And I expected him to just pull away, but I think he, I guess, made some mistakes once he got into the lead. I kind of sold him a dummy into the hairpin, like looking like I wasn't going to attack and then diving, and then had to defend for my life on the last lap. And in that first chicane on the last lap, I just rewatched it. I must have been inches from another slowdown there. So yeah, that was a hard-fought win.
Yeah, Ian, congratulations on the race victory tonight. Super fun watching you and Bonin race it out for the victory there. And I think I actually want to ask you about that slowdown, because obviously you had that slowdown penalty with a couple laps ago that gave Bonin the lead. What goes through your head when you get that slowdown? Obviously the first thing is disappointment, but how do you obviously 2 laps left in the race, how do you recover from something that quick?
Well, the first thing is me thinking about what's the fastest way to deal with it, because, iRacing is notorious for like a 2-second slowdown, making you lose 6 seconds. So I kind of had an idea, like just braking a little bit early, but not too early in the straight is the best way to deal with it. And just kind of, taking my lines, hoping I stick with him, and I did. And hoping there was an opportunity to attack, and there was. So I don't know, I just basically couldn't afford to lose focus and just got right back on it.
Well, Ian, you ran a really good race tonight, and I want to thank you for showing up and having putting on a great show for the fans tonight. But before we send you on your way this evening, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Yeah, I'm gonna thank Kyle, because it takes 2 to tango, and that was some good, clean racing.
Well, Ian, congratulations on the race victory again. Super fun watching you race, and we hope to see you back in the race car this time next week as well.
Thanks.
And once again, that was Ian Brown out of Mesa Community College, our second race 2 winner tonight. He put on a really good show for us, Josh, and I think definite fireworks after a bit of a anticlimactic end to his first race.
Yeah, I think so, and very good story there. Sometimes you gotta come back from adversity. Looks like the router reset was the answer, and he had it all in the bag there in the final race and pulled it out. So what fun, man. That was very fun from start to finish, and competitive both in the midfield and up at the front.
Yeah, I think this track provided a really unique challenge to our drivers tonight, and I think this combination of super soft suspension with the GR86 cars, you can really thrash them around a track like this where the curbs are just so treacherous, and to get the speed out of the car and find the speed on the track, you have to really make the most of your suspension and thrashing the car around the curbs. I think it really provided for some really fun racing tonight.
Yeah, I think it did, and that's kind of the properties of these cars. It will be exciting when we go back in the fall to the Formula C cars, which have their own personality in the Formula 4 chassis. But for the summer here, with everybody's in and out schedule, very fun to kind of play with these cars, beat and bang a little bit. You can run a little bit closer in these cars. We saw a couple of contacts door to door, side by side, and whereas the open wheel cars may not enjoy that so much, these cars were right at home, and so very enjoyable race to both to view and to call tonight, Matt.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously these cars allow for drivers of all sorts of skills and different experience levels to race close, just because there isn't a crazy, like, let's say, trick to these cars. Obviously all cars have their own nuances, but I think the GR86 car it's quick to learn but harder to master, and I think we've really seen some of the drivers kind of slowly work their way towards a level of mastery with these GR86 cars over the summer.
Yeah, I think that's correct, and I think that's something that we're going to get to look at a little bit later on. I mean, we got about we have 7 races now under our belt, so 5 races to go, and very exciting. So catch us next week for the Wednesday night 9 p.m. Eastern Green Flag. We are back again. It is Rudskogen Motor Center there, and so new track on the surface, new to CiL. It's going to be the appropriate place, Matt, to beat and bang these cars, continuing this action there at that track. So that is 9 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday night. And so from all of us here at CiL and the drivers, thank you for tuning in, hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Wednesday.